Welcome, and thank you for joining us for our Fraud and Identity Theft webinar. Before we get started, I would like to cover just a couple of housekeeping items. As a courtesy to all attendees, we have muted the phone lines during the presentation. However, you can still ask questions throughout using the questions box in the webinar toolbar. Please feel free to ask questions during the presentation, and Kevin Cray, who is our software development supervisor, will answer your questions. At the end of the presentation, we'll still have the phone lines muted, but we'll address any remaining or final questions at that time. So if your question is not answered, don't worry, we will get to that at the end. Welcome, my name is Michelle Becwar, and I'm the Education Impact Architect for Dupaco. Presenting with me today is Tami Rechtenbach, our Vice President, Member Services and Training. And Kevin Cray, our Software Development Specialist, will be answering your questions during the presentation. Fraud and identity theft are a serious problem, and knowing the facts about identity theft is really key to helping protect yourself from being a victim. As Dupaco is a member-owned credit union, our unique cooperative structure means that Dupaco operates in your best interest. Our goal is to provide our members with financial education to help them make better financial decisions. We provide financial education either in person at any of our branches or through our online resources like this webinar that allows us to reach members no matter where they live. I will present today on what identity theft and fraud is and why this should be important to you. And then Tami will present on how it happens, how you can protect yourself, warning signs to pay attention to, and then where you can go for help. What do we mean when we say identity theft or fraud? Identity theft occurs when someone uses your personal identifying information, like your name or social security number, or credit card number without your permission to commit fraud or other crimes. Fraud or misuse of an existing account, this is when someone attempts to commit fraud on a current account. They might have gotten account numbers and passwords allowing them to access the accounts. An example of this could be your financial accounts like a checking or savings account. Fraudulent new accounts. This is when someone attempts to open a new account in your name. They may open financial accounts like a savings or loan or even utility accounts, but this is when they're opening a new account in your name. Fraud or misuse of personal information. This is when they misuse your personal information to do things again like opening a new account or even get medical care, a job, or even government benefits. They might even rent an apartment in your name. At the extreme, they may even provide false information, which is your name and information, to law enforcement when charged with a crime or a traffic violation. So I'm sure you've most likely heard about identity fraud before, but just how big of a problem is it? An estimated 17.6 million people were victims of one or more incidents of identity theft in 2014. And based on data from 2014, every 2 seconds there's a new identity theft fraud victim. Identity theft strikes people of all ages. Based on the Federal Trade Commission identity theft complaints in 2014, the breakdown was nearly even for working age adults. So if you look at the pie graph here, if you do to the top right corner there, the yellow pie, that starts ages 20 to 29. It's pretty much even. It's 18 to 19% for people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s. And then it's 13% were age 60 to 69, 7% were 70 and older, and then 6% were 19 or younger. And interestingly, students are the least likely to realize on their own that they've been a victim of identity theft fraud. Only 22% realized they were a victim of fraud after they'd been denied credit or were told by a debt collector that they'd been victimized. This is 3 times higher than other fraud victims. Another area of identity theft that people don't think of often is child identity theft. This is when a child's social security number is used by identity thieves to apply for government benefits, open bank and credit card accounts, or even apply for a loan. We recommend that you check and see if a credit report using your child's information is being misused, and if it is, you definitely want to take immediate action. Federal law does allow you to get a free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of the reporting agencies. Even asking schools or other organizations to safeguard your child's information can help minimize your child's risk of identity theft. Many school forms require personal and sensitive information. Find out how your child's information is collected, used, stored, and thrown away. As a parent, you have control over the personal information that companies collect online from your kids under the age of 13. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, gives you tools to do just that. If a site or service is covered by COPPA, it has to get your consent before collecting personal information from your child. And you can actually find more information about this online at the FTC's site, which is ftc.gov. So how is fraud discovered? The most common way victims discovered identity theft was when they were contacted by a financial institution. About 47% of victims were discovered fraud this way. They were contacted by their financial institution. Other ways is about 20% of people noticed fraudulent charges on their account. 9% noticed money missing from their account. 7% were contacted a financial institution to report a theft. 4% contacted by a company or another agency. 4% had a credit card decline or a check bounce. And then about 3% received a bill or were contacted about an unpaid bill. So what impact does this have on a person? About 2/3 of identity theft victims reported a direct financial loss. Statistics actually show that it takes an average victim about $500 and 30 hours to resolve each identity theft crime. That's per each individual identity fraud instance. And another impact that people don't think often about when they're a victim of identity theft is that this could also even mean that they lose out on job opportunities or even denied loans for education, housing, or cars because of negative information on their credit reports. They could, on the extreme, even be arrested for crimes they didn't commit when someone uses their identity and they've been involved in criminal activity. Familiar fraud is another type of fraud that people don't think about too often. This is actually when a friend, a family member, or even someone you know is the one who commits the fraud against you. Studies have shown that it's becoming more common for the ones stealing your identity to be the ones that are closest to you. Statistics vary from about 10 to 40% of identity fraud being committed by someone familiar to you. But experts believe that many cases actually go unreported, which makes it a difficult statistic to accurately track. And while any identity fraud can cause emotional distress, it's even more so when it's someone who's close to you. So now Tami is going to take the presentation, and she's going to talk to you about how thieves do this and ways that you can protect yourself.
Thank you, Michelle. So how do thieves steal an identity? Identity theft can occur in many ways. Some of the more traditional or recognized ways thieves steal an identity are the following. First, there's dumpster diving. This is when they rummage through trash looking for bills or other paper with your personal information on it. Next, we have old-fashioned stealing. When your wallet or purse is stolen, which contains personal information, or they steal from your mailbox and they get items like bank and credit card statements or pre-approved credit card offers or even new checks or tax information, it's a good idea to make sure that you have a mailbox that locks, especially if it's in a public area. Or data breaches. A data breach theft has become a very high profile in the news in the last year. One example you might have heard about is the Target store data breach. A data breach is when thieves steal secure information from trusted sources and use that information to commit fraud. This type of fraud is a steadily growing threat. Let's take a look at some of the less traditional but becoming more common ways of theft. Phishing email messages are designed to steal your identity. They ask for personal data or direct you to websites or phone numbers where you are asked to provide personal data. They might appear to come from your financial institution or a company or website you regularly do business with, such as a social networking site. They might include links to spoofed websites where you are asked to enter personal information. In phishing, links that you are urged to click on within email messages, on websites, or even in an instant message, they may contain all or part of a real company's name and are usually masked, meaning that the link you see does not take you to that address, but somewhere different, usually a fraudulent website. That is why when you log on to Dupaco's Shine online banking, you'll enter a security phrase there. If you log on to our site and you don't see the security phrase you've entered, there's a good chance somebody is trying to phish your information. So you want to always make sure that you see your security phrase when logging into online banking. There are different ways that Dupaco puts a lot of securities in place to protect your information, and you want to be aware of what those are so that you can protect that information. Social media is another way that thieves can gather a significant amount of personal information. They look for information which can be used to authenticate your identity, birthday, pet names, etc. And they can use those to identify security challenge questions that you may have set up on other accounts when they're trying to hack into your other accounts. Hacking has been very high profile in the news this last year. Tech-savvy thieves hack onto online databases to obtain stored personal information. But hacking doesn't only happen to large companies. It can also happen to individuals, where thieves can get access into your computer, and then they find your personal information and your passwords. A very common fraud attempt is through telephone solicitations, also referred to as vishing, which stands for voice phishing. Fast-talking thieves can convince you to provide financial information over the phone. They may say your card is blocked and you need to provide information to unlock it. Please know that Dupaco has your information, so we would never ask you to provide this type of information over the phone. And if you do feel as though you may have given out information that you shouldn't have, call one of our representatives and let us kind of walk you through the process of what steps need to be taken in the event that that happens. It's not uncommon for that to happen, and don't feel bad if it does, because we're here to help you work back through it. IRS scams are another way that thieves steal identities. The IRS continues to warn consumers to guard against phone scams and calls from thieves intent on stealing your money or your identity. Criminals pose as the IRS to trick victims out of their money or personal information. Do not give out personal account information over the phone or via email. Some ways thieves do try to do this, and here are some tips. Scammers make unsolicited calls. Thieves call taxpayers claiming to be IRS officials. They demand that the victim pay a bogus tax bill. They con the victim into sending cash, usually through a prepaid debit card or wire transfer. And we have seen some of those right here in our local markets. They may also leave urgent callback requests through phone robocalls or via phishing emails. Callers will try to scare their victims. Many phone scams use threats to intimidate and bully a victim into paying. They may even threaten to arrest, deport, or revoke the license of the victim if they don't get the money. Thieves even have ways of making the caller ID look like it is coming from the IRS, or even have letterhead stating it is from the IRS, but these are not legitimate. Please keep in mind that the IRS will not call you to demand immediate payment. The IRS will not call you if you owe taxes without first sending you the bill in the mail. The IRS will not demand that you pay taxes and not allow you to answer the questions or appeal on the amount that you owe. The IRS will never require you to pay taxes in a certain way. For instance, they won't require that you pay with a prepaid debit card. They won't ask for your credit card or debit card numbers over the phone, and they won't threaten to bring in police or other agencies to arrest you for not paying. If you don't owe taxes and you have no reason to think you do not give out information to these folks and just hang up. If you do owe or think you may owe, you can call the IRS at 1-800-829-1040. IRS workers can help you. Now that thieves have your information, how exactly do they use a stolen identity? Identity theft is a broad crime encompassing several things a person can do if they get access to your personal information. Here are several ways thieves can use a person's stolen identity. Credit card fraud is one way. They may open a new account in your name. They may change the billing address on your credit card so that you no longer receive the bills and then run up charges on your account. We run into this every now and again when we're doing one of our money makeovers with a member, where we'll notice something on the credit card, on the credit report, that maybe isn't that member's credit card, and then we're able to kind of walk them through the steps that we need to do to dispute that instance. Bank or finance fraud is another way. They may create counterfeit checks using your name or account number. They may take out a loan or open a bank account in your name or write bad checks. Fraud using government-issued documents is another way. They may get a driver's license or use official ID cards in your name, but use their photo. They can open up new accounts in your name. Another way is by using Social Security numbers fraudulently. They may use your name and Social Security number to get government benefits. They may even use your identity to get medical treatment. And they may file a fraudulent tax return using your information. Then when you go to file your tax return, you will hear back from the IRS that the return has already been filed. We did see several instances of this last year, where members went in to file their tax return, and when they went to send it in to the IRS, it got rejected back to them because it said they had already filed and received a refund, when in fact somebody else had done that, pretending to be that person. That then can roll this process press us out into several months of having to fix that and work through the process of proving to the IRS that that wasn't you and you really hadn't filed yet. So you want to be really careful, especially this time of year, that you don't fall victim to that. With so many ways thieves can commit fraud or steal an identity, how do you protect yourself? Understanding how you can protect your personal information can help reduce your risk of identity theft. We will get into more details in a moment, but the main 4 ways are this. Know who you share information with. Store and dispose of your personal information securely, especially your Social Security number. Ask questions before deciding to share your personal information, and maintain appropriate security on your computers or other electronic devices. To help minimize your risk and protect yourself, you should also be proactive and monitor your information. It is essential that you monitor your credit report and financial accounts at Dupaco and elsewhere for suspicious activity and transactions. And there are a lot of tools out there to help you monitor your credit reports and alerts here at Dupaco for your accounts that we certainly can help you with learning how to do that. If you use our Shine Online Banking, you can also set up e-notifier alerts that can help you protect your accounts. These are available as text or email messages and are free notifications that keep you posted on low account balances, online banking logon attempts, and credit card transactions and other scenarios. I personally have the alerts set up on my phone, and a couple of years ago my alerts started going off and somebody was actually attempting to get money out of my checking account. They were shopping in Minneapolis and New Orleans and all over the place. Because I had those alerts set up, I was able to contact the credit union immediately and get those charges stopped, and I ended up not losing out on anything because I was getting those instant alerts. So I am a firm believer in having those set up on your accounts here at Dupaco. Requesting your credit report annually through www.annualcreditreport.com can also alert you to accounts open frequently in your name. Federal law allows you to get a free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of these 3 credit reporting agencies. Here are some ways you can protect yourself offline. Lock your financial documents and records in a safe place. Limit what you carry. When you go out, take only the identification, credit, and debit cards that you're actually going to need. Leave your Social Security card at home, or better yet, locked up in your safe deposit box. Shred documents and mail that have your personal information on it. Do not throw them in the trash. Destroy the labels on prescription bottles. Promptly remove mail that arrives in your mailbox. Consider opting out of pre-screened offers of credit and insurance by mail. You can opt out for 5 years or permanently. To opt out, call 1-888-567-8688 or go to optoutprescreen.com. Check your financial and credit card statements monthly. There are some statistics that show that about 80% of the people don't actually look at their credit card and credit union statements that they get in the mail. It's really, really important to watch those and watch for instances where you might need to give us a call and say something doesn't look right, so that we can catch these things early. Check your credit report annually for any unfamiliar accounts or charges. When it comes to online, what are some ways you can protect yourself there? Know who you share your information with and be alert to impersonators. Don't give out personal information on the phone, through the mail, or over the internet unless you've initiated a contact or know who you're dealing with. If a company that claims to have an account with you sends email asking for personal information, don't click on links in the email. Instead, type the company name in your web browser, go to their site, and contact them through customer service, or call the customer service number listed on your account statement. Safely dispose of personal information. Before you dispose of a computer or device, get rid of all the personal information it stores. Use a wipe utility program to overwrite the entire hard drive. Before you dispose of a mobile device, check your owner's manual or the service provider's website for information on how to delete information permanently and how to save or transfer information to a new device. You will also want to remove the memory card from the mobile device. Remove the phone book, lists of calls made, received, voicemails, messages sent and received, and photos. After doing this, you should also restore the device to its original settings. If you aren't sure of how to do this, and depending on the device you have, we recommend you do your research or even contact your local computer company on the best way to ensure you have safely disposed of content. If possible, encrypt your data. To guard your online transactions, use encryption software that scrambles information that you send over the internet. A lock icon on the status bar of your internet browser means your information will be safe when it is transmitted. Secure your browser. Always use a secure browser. Look for HTTPS at the beginning of a web address. Access your accounts from a secure location using computers and networks that you know are safe and secure. And keep your passwords private. Use strong passwords with your laptop, credit, bank, and other accounts. Be creative. Think of a special phrase and use the first letter of each word as your password. Substitute numbers for some words or letters. Don't overshare on social networking sites. If you post too much information about yourself, an identity thief can find information about your life. Use it to answer challenge questions on your accounts and get access to your money and personal information. Consider adjusting your privacy settings to limit access to your networking page to a small group of people. Never post your full name, social security number, address, phone number, or account numbers in publicly accessible sites. Make sure to secure your social security number. Keep a close hold on your social security number and ask questions before deciding to share it. Ask if you can use a different kind of identification. If someone asks you to share your social security number or your child's, you can ask these questions. Why do they need it? How are they going to use it? How will they protect it? And what happens if I don't share this information? The decision to share is yours. Sometimes you will have to share your number. Your employer and your financial institutions need that social security number for wage and tax reporting purposes. A business may ask for your social security number so they can check your credit when you apply for a loan, rent an apartment, or sign up for a utility service. When it comes to your devices, there are always things you can do to keep your devices secure. Use security software. Install antivirus software, anti-spyware software, and a firewall. Update these protections often. Protect against intrusions and viruses that can compromise your computer files or passwords by installing security patches for our operating system and other software programs. Dupaco has partnered with IBM Security to begin offering Trusteer Report, which is a protection against financial malware, malicious software, designed to steal personal and/or financial information while the user is online. This is only available for download with Shine Online Banking, and you can find more details on our website at dupaco.com/trusteer. And I believe if you're in our online banking software, pop-ups will sometimes also pop up there alerting you to go ahead and download that software. We do that to remind you that it is important to have those types of things on your computers to protect you. So if you see the Trusteer pop up, that is okay. That's a Dupaco endorsed product. Avoid phishing emails. Don't open files, click on links, or download programs sent by strangers. Opening a file from someone you don't know could expose your system to a computer virus or spyware that captures your passwords or other information that you type. Be wise about Wi-Fi. Before you send personal information over your laptop or smartphone on a public wireless network in a coffee shop, library, airport, or other public area, see if your information will be protected. If you use an encrypted website, it protects only the information you send to and from that site. If you use a secure wireless network, all the information you send on the network is protected. Many times there are warning signs that people should be aware of to help catch an identity theft or fraud before it goes too far. It is very important to monitor and stay aware of your accounts and personal information and to stay proactive. 47% of people didn't notice they were victims, but only discovered it when they were contacted by their financial institution about suspicious activity. 29% of people discovered theft because they noticed fraudulent charges on their account or noticed money was missing from their account. The remaining percentage of people who were victims of identity theft discovered it in other ways. The important thing is to note that while it may seem obvious or common sense to keep track of your accounts or information, it is quite common for people not to monitor their accounts regularly or at all. Only a third of victims discovered it by noticing issues with their account. Warning signs that you should heed are this. Watch for withdrawals from your account that you can't explain, or you don't get bills in other mail. Merchants refuse your checks. Debt collectors call you about debts that aren't yours. Your unfamiliar accounts or charges on your credit report. You receive bills for medical service that you didn't have. The IRS notifies you more than one tax return was filed in your name and that you have income from an employer that you did not work for. Or you get a notice that your information was compromised by a data breach at a company where you do business with or have an account. So you've done everything you can to protect yourself from being a victim of identity theft. But it does happen anyway. What do you do if your identity is stolen? Some of the steps that you must take immediately to restore your name and credit are these. You got to file a police report. You need to check your credit reports, notify your creditors, and dispute any unauthorized transactions. You will also want to place a fraud alert on your credit reports and review these reports carefully. You will want to do this with the 3 major credit reporting companies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. The alert tells creditors to follow certain procedures before they open new accounts in your name or make changes to your existing accounts. What basically they'll do when you put a fraud alert on there is they'll put your phone number on file. And if somebody tries to apply for credit in your name before that credit card or that loan can be approved, they'll call that number on file, and if you answer the phone, you can then approve that the application be taken. But if they can't reach you, they would deny the application at that point. That's basically how the fraud alert works on a credit report. You will want to close any accounts that have been tampered with or established fraudulently. Ask for verification that the disputed account has been closed and that the fraudulent debt's discharged. Keep copies of documents and records of your conversations about these thefts. You'll want to file a report with law enforcement officials to help you with creditors who may want proof of the crime. You should also report the theft to the Federal Trade Commission. Your report helps law enforcement officials across the country in their investigations. The Federal Trade Commission's website has extensive guidance on restoring your good name following an identity theft, including letter templates for communicating with your creditors. Dealing with identity theft can be an overwhelming and emotionally taxing task. It can be very beneficial to look into a service that will provide fraud recovery assistance. You may want to consider a program that Dupaco offers. Dupaco has partnered with Deluxe to give you additional resources to help prevent and respond to identity theft and fraud in the unfortunate event that you become a victim. Our Family ID Restoration coverage from Deluxe ProVent will provide you a certification resolution specialist to help you restore your identity as recommended by the Federal Trade Commission, including working with creditors, credit bureaus, the Social Security Administration, the U.S. Postal Service, the Police Department, the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Internal Revenue Service, and your financial institution. The restoration coverage also extends to the spouse or domestic partner of the account holder, dependent children under the age of 21 who live with the account holder, and dependent children under the age of 25 who are full-time students. In addition, you will be eligible for up to $25,000 in expense reimbursements assistance. The real crux of the Family ID restoration coverage is the fact that this 800 number is provided to you. In the event that your identity is stolen, and some examples we've had members where they've had 2 or 3 different instances of credit being reported on their credit reports that wasn't theirs. We are able to give them the 800 number to the identity theft protection folks that we work with, and they then issue a power of attorney to that member and begin to do the corrections and the removal of that data from their credit report so that the member doesn't have to do all the legwork on their own. So it's a really nice service that we're able to provide there to the membership, to give them a partner and somebody to rely on over the phone there that can help walk them through the process of cleaning up what's going on with their credit. They will also contact the FTC for you to report that that has actually happened, and then provide the dispute materials to the credit reporting bureaus. They will work with these bureaus on your behalf to clean your credit up and take care of all the steps that happen that way. You can sign up for additional services through this program. I use one where every time anything hits my credit report, I'm sent an email, and at that point I can either accept or decline that that was actually me that opened that account, and then they would take up the dispute with the credit bureau agency at that time if I did decide to decline that that wasn't actually my issue on there. They also have a place where you can store online images of your wills, your trusts, your tax returns, different things like that behind a firewall, so that if you would need a copy of something from home without having to come in and get it out of your lockbox, you can definitely get access to that. But it's all secured where they store that, and that's kind of a nice feature as well. So the identity theft protection coverage that is available to our members is a very good value. And if you did want to get more information about that or sign up for that, you would just need to let us know. Give us a call and let us know, and we'll be happy to walk you through that. The challenge that we all face is that many legitimate companies use email or online services to communicate with consumers. Not every email or communication you get will be fraudulent. We at Dupaco use a variety of ways to communicate directly with you, including U.S. mail, phone, email, messages within Shine Online Banking, and more. In our world today, fraud is a pervasive problem. It is very easy to create a website that looks legitimate, easy to impersonate a call coming from a familiar business or organization, easy to produce a convincing email. The bottom line is that it's easy to fall into a trap and unknowingly provide personal and financial information to criminals. As your financial institution, Dupaco already has your account information, social security number, address, and all the information that we need and are required to collect by law. Therefore, we will never solicit you and ask for your member account numbers or online banking credentials, such as a username and password. We will never utilize internet banking browser pop-ups or advertisements that request you to enter financial information or log in credentials. We will never contact you to ask you for your credit or debit card number, personal identification number, or 3-digit security code. If you are ever concerned about the legitimacy of a communication that appears to be from Dupaco, do not provide any information and instead contact us directly to inquire about the communication. We want you to know that Dupaco regularly sends the following emails to members. Transaction survey emails. These emails are intended to collect feedback from members on the service provided by Dupaco staff. These are sent to a small percentage of members who have completed a transaction in person or by phone with Dupaco within the last week. These emails contain a link and request generic, non-financial information from the recipient. Service quality emails. Dupaco works with a third party, CFI Group Credit Union Barometer, to obtain member feedback on Dupaco products and services. This is a two-part email, and neither will collect any personal information or financial information. We know this webinar has covered a lot of information, but it was intended to give you a broad overview of fraud and identity theft. For information on preventing fraud and what you should do if you fall victim, visit the protection side of our website. To access the protection section of our website, you will find this in the top header area. Click on protection and it will take you to that section. If you suspect you might be the victim of identity fraud or think your accounts have been compromised, please contact us so that we can work with you to restore your accounts and make sure that you are secure. As a reference, the statistics used in this webinar were pulled from various sources, specifically the U.S. Department of Justice and terrorism. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you for joining our webinar. We really do hope that you found this information useful. I know that Kevin has been addressing some questions throughout, but I think there were a few questions that we were going to save to the end. So let's see what we have here, and we'll try to answer any questions you submitted.
One of the questions we had was, can you refuse to enter your social security number? Like, do you have that right?
You have the right with different organizations to do that. With a financial institution, we are bound by the USA Patriot Act, which came about in the late 1990s. After the towers were hit, this law came into effect, and we were required at that point as a financial institution to have a social security number when we open an account. So we cannot open the account without that, and we're bound by federal law in that area. However, different businesses can ask for that, but it may not be required. So it kind of depends on who you're dealing with. But it is important to know that applying for a job or working with a financial institution, because of federal law, it would be required.
And then, let's see here. Another question we had was, another great one. Let's see. We had someone ask, why do credit cards now have the chips? And they had mentioned that it's easier during checkouts with the chips, but is it now easier for someone to scan your information? And one response I gave was that the chips in the chip and pin, the way that works is the cards with the chips must have a PIN number associated with them. So when you enter or do a transaction, you're required to put a PIN number. The benefit to that, opposed to what it was previously, the magnetic strip is much easier to clone. People can scan that information, and then all they need is your signature, which can easily be faked. Anyone can go out there and sign your signature. Chip and PIN is, say you lose your card, while you should still worry, you should still cancel your card, do the proper procedures, and get a new card. For that card to be successfully used, they have to know your PIN number, which is another great security benefit. So that one's to help with that.
You still want to protect that card if you're shopping online or giving that account, that card number to somebody. The chip is going to help you if you're using the card in a machine. But if you're giving verbally, like if you're online shopping and you're entering that card number in online, that chip won't protect you in that situation. So you still want to be really careful about how you use that card online and different things like that.
Okay, another question we had was, how long do you need to continue monitoring your credit if you know your Social Security number has been stolen?
I would highly recommend, I check all 3 bureaus at least once a year, which gives you an opportunity, if you space that out correctly, to actually pull your credit report every 4 months. So if you know your Social Security number has been stolen, you can get a new Social Security number. I don't think a lot of people realize that they can actually have their Social Security number reissued if they have concerns about their Social Security number actually having been used. But my Social Security number has not been stolen, and I still look at my credit report every 3 months. I still have alerts set up through the Identity Theft Protection Program to let me know if something does hit my credit report. But I don't think we ever can feel, and this is just me talking, I'll let Michelle or Kevin weigh in, I don't think you can ever feel like you don't have to be alert to those things, or that you can rest on your laurels with that. I think in today's day and age, you have to have the tools in place and always be watching it. I don't know that we can ever just rest on our laurels with it when it comes to our identity.
Another question we had was, is your restoration program similar to LifeLock?
Yes, our restoration program is just like LifeLock, and if you're a Dupaco member, it's about $8 a month cheaper. Actually it's $1.95 a month to have that, and that $1.95 a month protects you and your children, your adult children that are living in your home if they're under age 25, and your spouse. So it's a great value, and we've had this product now for about a year, and I've watched a lot of members actually utilize the tools that come with it and have a lot of success in getting walked through a situation that might have been really scary had they not had that resource. So, and there are so many tools that come with this product that, you know, it would be great if you have specific questions to call us and let us walk you through it.
1 second here. I'm going to keep going through the questions. Another question we had was, let's see, can you recommend a password manager? There's so many out there right now. In the last few years, it's kind of jumped in the amount of companies offering services like that. There's a lot of good ones. I hate to recommend any specifics. When looking for a password manager, I would look for ones that are storing your information on your computer. They're encrypting a file and saving your passwords on your computer. I know there's some out there that will save your passwords in the cloud, and they try to justify that by saying, hey, you can access this information from multiple computers, so it's all synced. So if on your laptop, your desktop, your mobile phone, so your passwords are able to be visible on all those machines because it's up in the cloud. Well, of course, that puts you at risk as well, because if that company was ever compromised, that information could be at risk. Granted, most of those companies are securing their information, they're encrypting it, but if you are to look into password managers, I would look for something that stays local on your machine, encrypts itself. Those are the best and safest methods.
There was one question that came through about a federal tax form and a state form. That is information that we don't know, but we do have that question, and we have who sent that to us, so we just want you to know that we will look into that. I don't know that we can provide a specific answer, but we can try to provide you with resources on how to figure that out and answer that question for you. So we just want to make sure you know that we did get that question, and we will get some information out to you on that.
Another question we had was, is it true that your actual credit score goes down every time you request a free copy of your credit report?
When you, the federal law that was passed that provides for the 3 free credit reports per year are actually will not affect your credit report. The only time that it could potentially affect your credit score is when it's called a hard pull, where maybe you're shopping for a car or you're doing something, maybe you're renting an apartment and they're pulling it to issue you credit. At that point, it's going to have a very minor effect on your score. But as far as the free reports that you can get, that law says that you can get those, and that pull on your credit will not affect your score. And also remember, if you want to take a look at your credit report, or we do offer the credit history lessons here, so you can come on in and we'll pull that credit report with you and help you understand everything that's on there and kind of how it all comes together. So we can certainly work through that with you. But yes, to answer that question, if you use that through the credit reporting agencies at that annualcreditreport.com, pulling your credit report there will not affect your score.
We're just going to see if we have any other final questions here.
We had a question about a credit lock versus a fraud alert. I can tell you that if you put a fraud alert on your credit report, it does alert whoever is looking at pulling your credit and issuing you a credit. It asks them to call you for permission to go ahead and issue that credit and finalize that loan. It doesn't guarantee that the creditor who is looking at it will actually make that call, and it doesn't stop the loan from going through, but it does raise a heightened level of awareness that you want that phone call before our credit can be issued. We had a question about a credit lock, and I'm not 100% sure on exactly what they were referring to there, but that's another one where we have that person's name, and we'll look into it and get an exact answer back on the credit lock to make sure we're answering that question correctly.
Follow-up with that was the fraud alert is only good for 90 days. Is that correct?
That is correct. A fraud alert stays on for 90 days. Yeah.
We had another question right here at the end. If we will be posting any of the information within this presentation or a Q&A to our website in the future?
We are. We have actually recorded this webinar, and we are going to post it to our website. That was the final thing I did want to address as well. So Tami mentioned, if you wanted to do a credit history review, you are more than welcome. You can come into any branch and meet with someone, and they can go through that with you. But also think of our website, Dupaco.com. It really offers a large variety of information, not just about some of the products and services, but about protection and some of the stuff we spoke about today. So in that area, we will be posting this webinar, and we can definitely put something together addressing the questions and some information that we address that way. So that way, if you want to come back to it, or if you know someone who couldn't attend today, and might find this information useful, it'll be out there for you to review at your convenience.
And I would take on to even what Michelle said there, and what's really important that we get across to you is if you have any kind of weird feeling at all about a phone call, or maybe you accidentally said something you shouldn't have over the phone to somebody, and then you had a bad feeling about it afterwards, or a letter you got in the mail, bring that into us. We're here to help you with those things. And some people don't come in because they're embarrassed, or for whatever reason they kind of avoid it. We want to help you. That's what we're here for. We want to be your financial partner in all areas. So if you feel like maybe something has happened and you need to turn to somebody, let us be there for you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. As I said, we will get this posted on our website within the next week or so. And then the 2 questions that we had that we couldn't answer, we will address those back to you individually.